Since we are complete already, before we begin our formal program, let's start our webinar with an opening prayer led by Ms. Gabuco, to be followed by Philippine National Anthem and TIP hymn.
Let us put ourselves in the holy presence of our Lord. Our dearest Heavenly Father, thank you for making all things possible. We are grateful for all the blessings you are pouring upon each one of us, despite the challenges we are all currently facing. Thank you for blessing us today with a wonderful opportunity to meet virtually and learn together in this awesomely exciting webinar. May your blessings of wisdom and guidance be upon us all through sharing and impartation of knowledge and skills by our resource speakers and facilitators. May all of us learn together, upgrade our competencies, and capacitate us to be the help in the development of our learners' lives and communities in the spirit of your love and generosity. May we humbly commit every part of this webinar to you as we all bring you the glory, honor, and praises for your kingdom and holy name's sake. All this we pray in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, telas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mo bangaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may di matitingin. Luman ang araw ng walhagit pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. You sharpen my mind with knowledge and truth. You fill up my heart with gladness and joy. You lift up my life to heights I've never known. You teach me, guide me, you inspire me. You bring out the best of what I can be. You give me the strength to believe in me. You've given me wings to fly above the rest and lead me on to victory. You are my strength, my hope, my guiding light. You've added values and meaning to my life. Your teachings and caring I'll always remember. My teachers and friends I'll always treasure. I'll cherish the good times we've spent together. TIP, dear TIP, you'll be in my heart forever. You are my strength, my hope, my guiding light. You've added values and meaning to my life. Your teachings and caring I'll always remember. My teachers and friends I'll always treasure. I'll cherish the good times we spent together. TIP, dear TIP, you'll be in my heart forever.
Yan! Good afternoon everyone! Thank you for joining us today in our webinar. So, to our fellow classmates, batchmates, and professor on this course, National Service Training Program 2 or NSTP 2, we are delighted to welcome you to this webinar entitled Laban sa Uhaw at Gutom, Ating Wakasan. As a group, we will serve you a lugaw but not as a food, but as a platform to spread awareness about zero hunger. We will be the voice of the voiceless and to advocate solutions for hunger in our community. So guys, it is obvious in this webinar title kung tungkol saan ito, no? Any idea? Yes, correct. We will tackle about Sustainable Developmental Goal number 2, which is the zero hunger. So this proposal, it is a project proposal headed by me. I am Micaela Orculio and Denise Benviaje as an assistant leader together with our group members, Miss Bianca Villegas, Miss Pia Tiongson, Miss Nikita Gabuco, Mr. Rafael Caoinian, Miss Regine Insigne, Mr. Cal Villostas, Miss Nizelle Figueroa, and lastly, with the guidance of our professor, Miss Maris Portento. So without further ado, let's all welcome Miss Denise Benviaje for her opening remarks.
Thank you for that, Ms. Arculia, and good day to everyone. Most of you are probably wondering why we choose lugaw as our group name. Well, if you are not aware what lugaw is, it is a Filipino comfort food that is served mostly when people are sick because it is easy to digest and to swallow for those who can't chew. Also, it is served or bought by people who are broke or doesn't have enough money to buy a pricey meal. Well, as you can remember, lugaw has been a controversial issue in the Philippines last March of 2021 because of an incident happened in San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. A food delivery rider was stopped from entering the said place by a barangay official because of the ongoing enhanced community quarantine that time. And lugaw was not essential, argued by the barangay official. But as I've said, lugaw is food of the sick people. Well, the barangay official already clarified the incident. In line with this incident, our group stand for healthy food and zero hunger from the Sustainable Development Goals. In line with this incident, we bind lugaw with zero hunger and nutritious food as both as essential to an individual's growth. Also, same with lugaw's incident, hunger and nutritious food have been a controversial issue and a problem for many years of the Philippines. As a group of students, we can't really leave a big or significant impact for having a minimal and restricted authority or access. That's why we maximize our resources by this webinar. Our goal is to disseminate information that could help our kababayans who are experiencing hunger and malnutrition. Well, it is not ironic that most of our participants here in this webinar are not the people who are experiencing the hunger and malnutrition. Since the purpose of this webinar is to educate and spread awareness to people potentially can make an impact, be part of the solution, and to inspire continuing helping, be a volunteer and advocate of zero hunger solution in one's community. There is no small for this action as everything is counted if we'll help hand in hand. That will at least give them hope. In this webinar, we will be discussing the meaning of Zero Hunger by Ms. Gabuco, Zero Hunger Status in the Philippines by Ms. Tiongson, what causes hunger and why zero hunger appear in the Philippines, what are their coping mechanisms both by Ms. Figueroa, Government Aid in Hunger by Mr. Villostas, What is Lugaw by Ms. Tiongson, What is Our Goal by Mr. Caoinian, Why did we choose this SDG by Mr. Villostas? What can we do as a student by Miss Figueroa and Miss Villegas? What do we want to achieve by Mr. Kawinyan? And lastly, who will benefit from this by Miss Gabuco?
In this webinar, we will talk about the second goal of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is zero hunger. But before that, let us know what the Sustainable Development Goals are all about. The Sustainable Development Goals are a set of goals established by the United Nations in 2015 with the help of partnerships from all United Nations member states. The agenda, which is based on these goals, serves as a call to action that focuses on ending poverty, safeguarding for the planet, and securing prosperity for all by 2030. So, how many Sustainable Development Goals are there? Sustainable Development Goals consist of 17 goals that are connected through every aspect. And as I said earlier, we're just going to address you with goal number 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, zero hunger. Hunger is one of the world's most serious uncontrollable problems, and it's almost like a global epidemic. Hunger is becoming more prevalent, and the majority of those affected are children around the world. Under the Sustainable Development Goals, zero hunger is set as the second goal that must be achieved by 2030 on this planet. Zero hunger by all means lays a greater emphasis on areas such as ending hunger, achieving food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Therefore, in order to achieve this goal, everyone must begin working together to make this vision a reality by 2030.
Zero hunger status in the Philippines. According to the most current social weather stations, SWS, statistics, 4.2 million families went hungry in May as the virus continued to cause chaos on the economy and keep Filipinos out of work. According to a national poll of 1,200 people conducted from April 28 to May 2, 16.8% of Filipino families experienced involuntary hunger, or hunger caused by a food scarcity, at least once in the preceding 3 months. The hunger rate in May 2021 is 0.8 percentage point higher than the November 2020 number of 16%, estimated 4 million households. It is 4.3 percentage points lower than the 2020 annual average of 21.1%, but is still double the pre-pandemic level of 8.8% in December 2019, which equates to 2.1 million households. Mindanao now has the highest incidence of hunger with 1.2 million families, followed by the Visayas of 776,000 families, Balanced Luzon at 1.8 million families, and Metro Manila with 496,000 families. Meanwhile, 14.1% or 3.6 million families experienced moderate hunger, while 2.7% or 674,000 families experienced severe hunger. So ayun, makikita nyo dito yung graph ng National Survey na kinundak noong April 28 hanggang May 2, 2021 na may katanungan na nitong nakaraang 3 buwan, nangyari po ba kahit minsan na ang iyong pamilya ay nakaranas ng gutom at wala kayong makain? Kung oo, nangyari po ba yan ng minsan lamang, mga ilang beses, madalas, o palagi? SWS characterized mild hunger as just once or a few times in the previous 3 months. Meanwhile, extreme hunger is defined as hunger frequently or often in the previous 3 months. The newest poll results were announced amid criticism of President Rodrigo Duterte's inadequate help Filipinos most affected by the virus, while his administration instead concentrated on infrastructure constructions. This level of childhood malnutrition, the Philippines is ranked 5th in East Asia and the Pacific for the highest incidence of stunting. And this is one of the 10 countries with the most stunned child in the world. Global social and economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 epidemic has exacerbated the situation. Hunger in the Philippines has risen rapidly to its highest level in more than 20 years. In 2021, the prevalence of childhood malnutrition is expected to climb. The Global Hunger Index is an annual peer-reviewed publication that aims to completely quantify and track hunger at the global, regional, and national levels. Each year, GHI scores are produced to monitor progress and setbacks in the fight against hunger. The GHI is intended to raise awareness and understanding of the fight against hunger, to provide a means of comparing hunger levels across countries and regions, and to draw attention to areas of the world where hunger levels are highest and where additional efforts to eliminate hunger are most needed. This nation profile is based on facts and statistics from the Global Hunger Index 2020.
What causes the hunger in the Philippines and why does it appear? The Philippines' high rates of hunger and malnutrition are primarily due to poverty. Hunger occurs due to the unaffordability of food costs despite the availability of food products. Furthermore, since they lack a consistent source of income, a massive percentage of the low-income population lacks access to nutritious foods, drinking water, and healthcare. Another challenge is the absence of support for sustainable agriculture and food security, whereas SDG 2 focuses on the present. It seeks long-term solutions to eliminate all types of hunger by 2030. Its goal is to guarantee that everyone gets enough nutritious food to live a healthy life. Achieving this goal will improve food access and widespread advocacy of sustainable agriculture. Moreover, the family heads with low levels of education are more likely to become laborers, unskilled workers, artisans, and traders, resulting in a lack of consistent sources of income, compared to higher educated individuals who have more resources to buy food, greater access to nutritious meals, and better options in dealing with price shocks and food shortages. According to the World Food Programme, there are also other factors such as climate change and political problems that contributed to the ongoing food insecurity in the Philippines. Between the year 2000 and 2010, the Mindanao area experienced 4 decades of armed conflict, which led in more than 40% of families being relocated, putting their food security at risk. Also, typhoons, which occur at a rate of roughly 20 per year, are a common occurrence in the Philippines. In fact, according to the 2015 World Risk Index, the country is ranked 3rd out of 171 countries, while 4th out of 188 countries in the 2016 Global Risk Index.
What and why experience hunger? Alam naman natin na lahat tayo ay nakakaranas ng gutom at anytime. However, particular groups and persons living in certain circumstances are especially vulnerable to hunger. Ano nga ba yung hunger? It is an unpleasant or painful bodily experience produced by insufficient nutritional energy consumption. When an individual does not consume enough calories on a regular basis to live a normal, active, and healthy life, it may result to various illnesses such as high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes. And daily, approximately 800 million people throughout the world go to bed hungry. Alam naman natin na hindi lang mga Pilipino ang nakakaranas ng gutom, kundi yung iba't ibang tao ay nakakaranas din ng gutom. And small farmers, herders, and fishers provide around 70% of the world's food, yet they are particularly vulnerable to food insecurity. Rural poverty and hunger are at their highest levels. And yung mas malalang nakaka-experience pa ng hunger is yung mga taong nasa mahihirap, yung hindi talaga nila kayang matugunan yung pangangailangan nila. Hindi sila makapag-provide araw-araw ng makakain. Yun yung mga mahihirap, yun yung mga kadalasang sobrang nakakaranas ng gutom. As smallholder farmers, millions of people in developing nations produce their own food. It's a dangerous existence. Growing enough food to feed their family, relying on the weather for a decent year, and receiving enough nourishment to preserve their health are some of the issues they confront. Also, the children are at a significant risk of being hungry because they are reliant on people for their care. Their bodies are also more prone to the additional issues that hunger creates since they are younger and growing. And maraming mga bata ang namamatay kada taon because of hunger-related causes. And children who are hungry are at risk for a variety of cognitive, behavioral, and emotional and physical issues. And of course, many individuals are at danger of becoming hungry as a result of their living situations and other obstacles that come and go. And world hunger is on the rise once again after years of steady decline affecting 9.9% of the world's population. According to a news report of Free West on 2021 based on the Social Weather Stations or SWS, mayroong 4.2 million families went hungry in May of 2021 as the pandemic carried on and kept Filipinos unemployed. And in our country, Mindanao has the greatest rate of hunger with an estimated of 1.2 million families going hungry at least once in the last 3 months. What are their coping mechanisms? In order to cope up with the problem of hunger, some coping mechanisms or solution that has been done is being done include restricting the food supply by eating less, purchasing fewer fruits and vegetables which are generally viewed as overly expensive, foregoing bill payments and other household expenses, and or obtaining food through less socially desirable means. In our country, in the Philippines, to cope up with the situation, people are working hand in hand so that no one would be left behind and be given the opportunity to have food on their tables. So, we have a Bayan-Bayanihan program. The project was sponsored through a $5 million technical assistance under the Rapid Emergency Supplies Provision Project approved by ADB on March 26, 2020. 2020, and is based on the ancient Filipino bayanihan philosophy of community spirit. The project aims to alleviate the COVID-19 related health crisis by supplying crucial food supplies to up to 140,000 disadvantaged households in Metro Manila and nearby provinces. The poor and underprivileged, including persons with disabilities and the elderly, as well as daily wage laborers in the informal labor market, are the intended beneficiaries. But unfortunately, even with all these efforts, there is still a percentage of people all across the globe who are experiencing hunger. In the Philippines alone, this statement applies. Therefore, not only the citizens nor the government must act alone, but instead we must work as a whole to alleviate this problem and to ensure that each and everyone has food to eat.
For the government aid or how they respond to hunger, we interviewed a barangay official from a city in Metro Manila to gain responses on how they aid or how they respond to these said issues. These people in their community take the initiative to help their neighbors if ever they encounter problems related to food supplies. The barangay will be the last resort if ever their neighbors are not able to help them. Aside from that, the barangay also associates with the programs of LGUs to give out help to those people in need, no matter what aspect it may be. It isn't sufficient enough if only the barangay is the only giving out the help. The programs of the LGUs, such as livelihood, were able to educate people in their community to make dishwashing liquids so that they can have a source of income. Vocational courses are also given out by the LGUs, such as welding, baking, driving, and many more. People in their community will be able to have certificates from TESDA and will be a great help for them in order to have jobs and as skilled workers. This proves that the concept of voluntarism is present. This shows how people in their community volunteer to help those in need that are also in their community. Also, in 2020, the President of the Philippines signed the Executive Order 101 creating an interagency task force on zero hunger. The task force endeavors to put an end to hunger in the country by year 2030. In line with the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which is zero hunger, a staunch partner advocating zero hunger and informing policies on food security and nutrition in the country. WFP was a natural partner in this undertaking. Together with other United Nations agencies, such as the United Nations Children's Fund, Food and Agricultural Organization of United Nations, and the World Health Organization, WFP had been selected by the government to support the Zero Hunger Task Force in developing the national food policy and achieve the goals of the task force. The Zero Hunger Task Force, led by the Cabinet Secretary, had set out 6 key results areas, each with their working groups. This aggregates the priority and assign niche experts to ensure that each is on track to be achieved by year 2030. WFP is currently providing technical assistance across all 6 KRAs, which are as follows. First is the review and rationalization of existing policies, rules, regulations related to the EO. Ensure available and affordable food, secure nutrition adequacy, secure food accessibility and safety, ensure resiliency and food stability for emergencies. Lastly, ensure information, education, awareness, and people participation. WFP's wide array of experience in the food security and nutrition area will allow the agency to lend its expertise to the government. In particular, lessons learned from projects which include iron fortified rice, stunting prevention program, agricultural livelihood, support in Mindanao, disaster preparedness and response, integration of food security and nutrition into local plans, and an upcoming social behavior change communication project. This enables WFP to provide extensive, specialized, and well-informed guidance in the development and popularization of the national food policy launched during World Food Day, 16th of October 2020.
What is lugaw? Ano nga ba ibig sabihin ng lugaw? Well, hindi lang ito yung basta-basta natin kinakain. Pag tag-ulan, L-U-G-A-W, lugaw. Laban sa Uhaw at Gutom, Ating Wakasan. Lugaw encourages reducing food shortages in one's community. Healthy nutrition is important in laying the foundation for a child's future, physical and mental health, school performance, and economic growth, particularly in the first few decades of life.
What is our goal or purpose of this webinar? We have here 4 bulleted goals, which are: first, to address what is zero hunger; second is to combat and end hunger; third, to provide knowledge to the community; and last is to influence people to live zero-free hunger. As a third world country, hunger is an inevitable effect of poverty, and hunger is explained as a state of discomfort or exhaustion that occurs when you need nourishment. Everyone goes hungry at some point, and not everyone is able to meet their needs due to poverty and other factors. However, because of the rapid economic growth and increase in agricultural productivity, it has decreased the number of undernourished people in nearly half for the last 2 decades. Many developing countries that were once plagued by famine and hunger can now meet their nutritional requirements. To take a furthermore step in eliminating hunger, this webinar aims to teach and provide the participants guidance on how they battle and how to abolish hunger in their communities. Furthermore, this webinar also aims to help the participants' communities to address what is zero hunger about, which may lead to the influence of people to live zero hunger. Through this webinar, people will learn things on how to help and deal with the people around them. This webinar will also serve as a tool in educating and opening the eyes of people toward the real-life challenges and hindrances that our community is facing.
Why do we choose this SDG? Hunger is one of the enemies of the growth of people. The group believes that nutritious food is one of the keys to a successful life. In the Philippines, more than 33% that suffers from undernourishment of children being bansot has always been a problem for Filipino children that could lead to a negative long-term effect in their health. One of the goals is Sustainable Developmental Goal number 2, which is zero hunger. We shall be able to free people from hunger by the year 2030. There must be no person left behind without meals and water to take care of. Even though there are executive orders from the present government, which is the Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger, there is still no sign that we are able to lessen the numbers of people who suffer from hunger. The Philippines' high rates of hunger and malnutrition are mostly due to high food costs and a huge low-income population. Furthermore, the government is not focused on tackling hunger-related issues. Hunger is not just about starving people. It is also the undernourishment of people. This problem should be removed immediately from our society since it can badly affect the lives of people. Hunger is affected by various problems in the Philippines. One is the high price of nutritious food. Believe it or not, healthy foods are more expensive than junk foods, or the on-the-go meal and instant foods. Making your own food daily consumes a lot more time and effort than a convenience store meal, which can also affect unhealthy eating of people. Other problems that affect hunger or undernourishment are the availability of nutritious food in a certain place and the lack of knowledge about what food a person should consume to live a healthy life. Healthy food has always been the least priority for a person. Healthy food would only matter if the doctor advised to eat diet foods due to an illness, or a newborn baby and elders. Healthy food is very crucial for them. But for a normal human being, eating healthy food is not as important as they would put it in their daily goals.
What can we do as a students? As a students,
We have gathered different ideas on how we can lessen their problems. There are 3 simple solutions that we came up with, such as the community pantry, donation drive, and giving away of seedlings. Since we are just students, here are the proposed solutions which we think can benefit each family and can be attained without worrying about it. The first one is the community pantry. It aims to neutralize the essence of poverty in the chosen barangay. It is a voluntary organization that will be held in a particular place. Most of us know that it became familiar since the pandemic started, such that a lot of families have lost their jobs. Since then, there were volunteers who took the chance to spread generosity and collaborate together with different organizations. Community Pantry provides foods and other utilities which can be offered to them directly based on what they need. It aims to help those who are in need and to lessen the difficulties that they are encountering. It can be done through conducting a donation drive which will be used as source of funds to provide necessities to marginalized sectors of the society. It can also be used when executing the said ideas such as the community pantry and giving of seedlings. Any kind or amount of donation is much appreciated. By doing so, we can provide their necessities even in small amounts.
These donations aid people at their most vulnerable times by relying on the assistance and contributions from big and small organizations. Through this small act, we can start making a difference to help meet the needs in our communities, and it also teaches us the power of advocacy and outreach to do great things. Last but not least is the distribution of seedlings. It aims to show that we can produce food in our backyards and at the same time improve nutrition by having people grow and include vegetables rich in micronutrients lacking in their diets. Through this, we can also assist them in helping themselves to reduce their dependency on donated foods or unnutritious foods, and as well as teach them skills that can be useful for a lifetime.
What do we want to achieve? We have listed here 3 things that we want to achieve, which are: first is to disseminate information and for everyone to learn, second, a hunger-free environment, and last is to learn and lessen and eliminate hunger. In relation to our goal and purpose of this webinar, we want to achieve a hunger-free environment through disseminating information to the communities. We want to create a hunger-free environment where people help each other in battling the problem. We also aim to increase students' participation and perhaps motivate and educate other people, not just students, but also adults, to take global issues seriously that may help us in creating awareness about the status of hunger in our country. Educating youngsters on the value of charity, as well as educating adults on the value of education, would be an effective strategy to help solve world hunger. While not all demographic zones have the same value of food production capability, the world's food production possibilities significantly surpass present human requirements, and having a webinar that disseminates information to communities like this would help lessen and eliminate hunger and achieve a hunger-free environment. This webinar could also help answer the question, what is the answer to world hunger? Which are education and charity. Charity because it aids in the provision of food, shelter, hygiene, clothes, and other necessities an individual need, and education because it teaches people how to live properly within their needs. We can achieve zero hunger without much effort if we want to educate the thinking of other people about the importance of living hunger-free and assisting those who are in need.
Since the group has limited access to help solve zero hunger, we decided to propose a webinar to address the issue. Our schoolmates, classmates, and those who attended the webinar are the beneficiaries of this project. They will have a greater understanding of the second Sustainable Development Goal, which aims to eliminate hunger. This webinar entitled Lugaw, which promotes Laban sa Uhaw at Gutom, Ating Wakasan, will benefit the participants and the school community, which are students of Technological Institute of the Philippines, Manila. As there are already a variety of programs aimed at achieving zero hunger and preventing malnutrition, the group focuses on disseminating knowledge and doing initiatives that begin in the school community, as it is the easiest way to spread information. This webinar will educate participants how to fight and eradicate hunger in their communities by giving them advice on how to achieve zero hunger. Also, this initiative will teach a wider audience, such as the Filipino people, on the importance of hunger-free living and will address a broad range of topics relevant to zero hunger, including its impact on our lives, why it is important to understand, and how we can achieve it. Since the objective of this webinar is to educate and convey information on what we can do to help people who are experiencing hunger and malnourishment, being aware of the situation helps in the dissemination of knowledge. As students, we can make a bigger impact if we help one another, and if we pass it on, it can influence a lot more people.
With all the information handed by our speakers who discussed and expressed with spectacle their understanding with their respective topics, I think all the points have been covered without a gap. I understand all the topics well. And speaking of understanding the topics, the status of hunger in the Philippines has left its mark to me. Even though the number is significantly low compared to the overall population of the Philippines, it is still alerting that there are millions of people who are experiencing hunger. And what really affected me is the fact that there are a lot of children that are undernutrition. But since the world pandemic happens, it bloated, and experts are expecting a higher percentage coming from this sector. I remember a quote, it goes like, "When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need." That is from Ayurvedic proverb. Well, if you're not familiar with Ayurvedic, it is a centuries-old Hindu system of nutrition and medicine that was developed alongside yoga as the best means to prevent illness and imbalance. Food is one of our sources of energy. It is where we get our nutrition. If we eat the right food that our body needs, then we are protecting our body from sickness. That will connect to our well-being. Government aid, or how officials respond to hunger, is also notable. I was not aware that there are various of programs, initiatives, projects and actions our LGU or local government unit has given to help reduce the hunger and malnutrition our fellow citizens are experiencing. Helping in one community starts from the smallest unit of administrative district, forming the most local level of government. They are the ones who should be aware of the situations of their constituents. However, we've noticed after the interview we've conducted to one barangay chairwoman, unfortunately, that their budget is not enough to help everyone. Even the discussed helps and Executive Order 101, creating an interagency task force on zero hunger or IATFZH, is lacking. That's why this webinar helps to fill those gaps. And by filling gaps, let me pass the spotlight to Ms. Micaela Orculio for the closing remarks.
As we end this webinar, we hope that everyone has gained information that is needed to continue and to do our proposed solutions. We are hoping for your kind participation and empathy, as we are not only doing this for them but also for ourselves as we continue to practice bayanihan in modern times. As what we have discussed in our NSTP1, in Filipino values especially, we are indeed matulungin. There's no exception here, there is no big and small help, because every help you do will be counted and will have a better result in the future. It is indeed saddening that hunger in our country is indeed spiking up as our cost of living continues to rise up. Therefore, our marginalized sector are being left behind. If they totally left behind, who are going to help them? There's no other than us, people. They need our help. They need our empathy. They need to be heard that hunger is not easy to end because not all of us are privileged to have extra to give or to provide, which is true. Di ba karamihan sa atin, sakto lang sa buhay, minsan meron, minsan wala, minsan swerte na at meron tayong extra. Pero meron din talagang mga tao na walang-wala talaga. We need to use our platform. Ourself, our body is our platform. Kasi kung wala tayo, hindi yan mag-matter eh. We need to use it to continue advocate zero hunger. Kasi there are misconceptions that if you're trying to help someone, you need to help them directly. Like literally direct to the point. You need to give something, you need to provide something, diba? But it is not necessary because advocating solutions, spreading awareness about their condition is a big help to them because as more people know it, more people are going to spread and help them. It is like a domino effect. So after all, we are hoping that in the future, everyone in this webinar, and to those people who are gonna watch this webinar in the future, we hope that you will be part of Zero Hunger movement of sustainable development goal in our country. Thank you everyone for listening and God bless.
Dear God, as this webinar comes to an end, we thank you for the time you have given us. We thank you for the chance to acquire different knowledge from our facilitators throughout the webinar. Help us now to carry this new knowledge and experiences in our mind and put into actions. We thank you for your guidance to fulfill the agenda in this webinar. May you bless us all and protect us with your holy will. All this we pray in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
TIP, TIP, fight, fight, fight. TIP, TIP, fight, fight, fight. Lift up your heart and hold your head up high. We're gonna win, we're gonna fly. We're gonna reach our lofty dreams. We've got the strength, we've got the might. We've got the grit and the determination. We've got the courage and the drive. We will exceed all expectations. We're gonna take them by surprise. We're on top of the world. TIP, we're the tip of the top of the world. We're on top of the world. TIP, we're the tip of the top of the world. Together we are invincible. United we are strong. We do our very best. On top is where we belong. We've got the grit and the determination. We've got the courage and the drive. We will exceed all expectations. We're gonna take them by surprise. We're on top of the world. TIP, we're the tip of the top of the world. We're on top of the world. TIP, we're the tip of the top of